This strategy made me 180,000 in my first year investing property. My name is Valter Pontes. We're going to be talking about property and entrepreneur in this channel. Today I want to talk about a strategy that made me 180,000 and allowed me to replace my income and be full-time in property. Since I've been full-time in property, my life changed completely. I expand my portfolio. I invest in the UK, I invest in Portugal, and also I invest in US. Strategy that made me 180 grand in my first year is sourcing. And some people will call deal packaging, some people will call wholesaling in US. So why I decided to do sourcing in the first place? So I was a student, and you believe it or not, I used to be a model and I was getting older. So I decided, okay, it was time for me to move to a different career. I moved to the UK to learn English, and also to get into university. Then what I've done, I did my first year successfully, and I was feeling quite lost because university wasn't for me, and I used my student loan to go to my first event. I do not recommend, but it did work out for me. So I went to my first course and I learned about different strategies, and one of the strategies I learned was deal sourcing. So what is sourcing? Sourcing is when you find a deal, and instead of you buy the deal, you package that deal and you give to an investor. So think about estate agents. So estate agents will going to be representing the seller. A sourcing, you're going to be representing the investor. And because you're going to be representing the investor will pay you a fee. So you find a deal, instead of you buy the deal, you give to the investor pays you a fee. So the fee varies. Sometimes, they pay you 3 grand, sometimes they pay you 10 grand. It will depend. It depends on if you're going to source a flat fee or you're going to source a percentage of the deal. If in case you charge a percentage of the deal, it's going to be more. And if in case you charge a flat fee, it will be less. So it depends. So it depends on your terms and conditions, how you're going to source the deal. So why I decided to do deal sourcing? I decided to do deal sourcing because I wanted a strategy that would help me to build my portfolio as well. So I knew one of the best skills an investor could learn is the ability to find great deals. So then that's why I decided to do deal sourcing. However, for 3 months, nothing that I was doing deal sourcing was working. I spent basically 3 months trying everything I could and nothing was working. So in this video, I'm going to tell you why the sourcing wasn't working. So if in case you wanted to do sourcing, you can go and do sourcing without spending the 3 months I did making all the mistakes. Of course, now I have students that are making more than 180 grand, but believe me, back then 180 grand was a lot of money for me, which gave me the freedom. So here are the 3 mistakes I made that you don't need to make them. So the first one is investors first. What do I mean by investors first? What I used to do, I used just to focus on the deal first. So I would go and find a deal. By the time I would go and try to find an investor, there was no deal because it would take me too long for me to find the investor. So that was the first thing. So what I did, I reversed that. I would go and find the investors first, and then the investor will tell me exactly what the investor wants, and then I go and find the deal for the investor. This is called a more tailor-made type of sourcing, and when I've done that, my sourcing just skyrocketed. Okay, so that is the first one. Investors first. You find the investors, you qualify the investor, and then you're going to find the deal. The second one is sourcing. I used to just source in one area. So what do I mean by that? So I learned that most people would say to you that you just source where you are. If you source where you are, the problem with that is, let's say you just source in Birmingham. You only need to have investors that buy in Birmingham. This will limit on how many deals you can source. So what I did, I started sourcing nationwide. With the technology nowadays, you can source just, if you have a laptop and a mobile, you can source anywhere in the country. If you want me to do an in-depth video on what type of technology you can use, let me know in the comments below and I record a video explaining to you how can you source nationwide with some technologies. For example, you don't even need to do viewings yourself anymore. There are companies like Viewber that can do viewings for you. The second mistake I've done, I was just sourcing in one area. What you need to do, you need to source nationwide. Now you have more investors that you can serve. Okay, so that was the second mistakes I've done. The third one is qualifying an investor. So what do I mean by qualifying an investor? What I used to do is, let's say I would go to meetings and I would find an investor, and the investor would say to me, look, I have $500,000, $1 million to invest. I would just take their words and say, okay, I have a qualified investor. So then I would go and find a deal. By the time I would introduce the deal to the investor will tell me that he needs to remortgage his property and then take the money, and buy the property. Guess what? By the time you remortgage the property, by the time he takes equity from the property, I wouldn't have the deal anymore. What you should do, you should qualify an investor, have the proof of funds and have all of that, and then you can go and find the deal for the investor. So the third mistake I made was not qualifying the investor. As I said, so these are the three mistakes I made. Find the investors first, then source nationwide and qualify the investor. If you correct that, I can guarantee you can take your sourcing business to the next level much faster. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next video, I'm going to show you people that are doing the sourcing the way I explained here, and they are doing extremely well. I will see you in the next video. Bye now.